All right, PK, you came across a fabulous list out there for all the college football fans. Utah has the most appearances in the college football rankings without making it to playoffs at 50. Is it frustration or more the sign of a consistent program? For people who are wondering, Oklahoma State's up next to 43. BYU is 10th on the list at 23. And in between, USC, Iowa, Wisconsin, Auburn, Florida. A few recognizable names, Baylor and K-State out of the
Big 12s in there.
Out of the Big 12. Yeah, that is all told now, well, 3 longtime members of the Big 12, and with Utah and BYU, 5 of the there's 12 teams on the list. BYU is 12th. I apparently have problems counting. But anyway, there you go. Almost half the list is Big 12.
You just go down the left side and then you double it, so you don't even have to count to 12.
I did originally.
You know what I mean?
did not originally, but I did finally.
No, you just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then it's even.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
one of those
10,
things where
11,
you do
12.
you match them, and so then you don't even have to go past 7 because you just know 6 times 2 is 12. Boom, you're done.
Bad news for Thurl Bailey. NC State's on the list at 11. So there you go.
Actually, I think for Utah, I think that's great news. Now, obviously, you want to get in the playoff, but for so many years, it was stacked against you, and you had to get voted. Now, I mean, you can get voted in now, but you stand a much better chance of earning it. And the thing to me, that signifies that this program is in a great spot and has been in a great spot for many, many years. I always look at when the schedules come out, and I'm talking about the 12 games. You don't know who the 13th or 14th, whatever it might be, just the literal 12 games that you know you're going to play. To me, I always ask myself, can this team get to 8 wins? That's the starting point. If you get to 8 wins, you have a decent team. Then you go. Can it get to 9? Can it get to 10? And so forth. And for much of the last 2+ decades, I would answer to myself, yes, Utah can get to 8 wins. That's the starting point. I'm not saying that's a great season, but I'm saying that you got to get, in order to get to a great season, you got to have 8 wins along the way, right? And so to me, that is something that far more often than not for the Utes, I've been able to say, yes, they can and most likely will get to 8. That's the mark of consistency. That's essentially why Kyle Whittingham is coaching at Michigan today. Not for a couple of big seasons, and for 20 years of consistently very good to excellent seasons. And there's a couple of clunkers in there. We know early on the adjustment to the Pac-12 was a big adjustment. They told us that, and it happened. And then we know later here recently
playing
that
4 or
a couple
5
of
quarterbacks.
injuries.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. But other than that, Tyler Huntley, I think, got a 7-6.
He did.
But
his sophomore year, yeah.
But they got the payoff when he was a senior.
Right.
He was incredible. And so they have been so good for so many years that I think that, sure, you want to get into the playoff, but it's not like the pros where everything is bracketed and you don't need somebody sitting in a boardroom.
Here you do need somebody sitting in a boardroom. And whether they've been in the Pac-10
for the most part,
or the Big 12, it seems stacked against them.
Not anymore.
They have 5 bids for conference champs now, which you used to have 9. You could win your conference, and they could leave you out. And Florida State's the all-time example.
That's why it was so cool about the Rose Bowl. It wasn't a beauty contest.
They won the conference.
It was won on the field. There was nobody who could take it away. You didn't need anybody's approval to win. You won. You beat Oregon, you beat SC, and you went.
So 50, that's great, and that is the consistency, and you do want that. I mean, would you rather be Utah football or, NC State football or Mississippi State football, who have half as many?
Well, I think that's not who you're comparing it to. Would you rather be ASU, who had one?
Not on the list, but they made it one time.
So they won't be on the list.
Right.
In the last 20 years, there's no question you'd rather be Utah. There's zero question. Nobody would say, now the next 20 years we'll see. But we're going what is a track record, what is proof, what is history. There's no question whose program has been better. And now you've got a new day. I see no reason, I can't come up with any, and I've been thinking about this, as to why I would go into the 26th season. Same thing. Can this program win 8 games? Yes, that's my starting point. Now, go from there. Can they do this, this, and this? Yes.
I remember doing our football roundtable. It's so funny you mentioned those numbers, right? Because I remember doing our football roundtable last year and saying, I think BYU can win 8. Maybe they can win more than that. But they're playing a freshman quarterback, and I've never seen him play football. And Utah can win 9. That O-line's going to be dominant. They ought to be able to run the ball because Kyle's teams always run the ball. Maybe they can be better at that. Well, they did. They surpassed 9. They had 10. And BYU wildly surpassed 8. They had 11. And Bachmeier never really had those games where, it's three picks and a pick 6, and he's like, well, he's a freshman and a good team confused him, and he got a bad break on that ball that bounced off somebody's hands, and that's the way it goes. You played a freshman quarterback. We never really had to come in and say that.
No.
I couldn't have predicted that, but you knew they were good. You just didn't know if they'd be much better than that.
And I'm going into this season thinking the same thing with Utah, that they will be competitive again like they are almost all the time. And that's a good position to be in. And they send guys to the pros every single year. They're going to send multiple guys this year. Just last night I was talking to Mel Kiper Sr., and he told me.
You were not Mel Kiper Sr.
I was talking to Mel Kiper Sr.
You were not.
I was too. And he's, Mel Kiper Jr. gets all the run.
He does.
But behind every junior, there's a senior.
He's got better hair. I mean, senior's older, so it's not as glorious.
So with that in mind, they're going to send guys in. All the metrics that define a quality program, check, right down the list for the Utes. The only thing that isn't is can they count on their quarterback being a high draft pick? No, that's not what they do. Now, maybe that changes. With Ford is the new guy, and maybe he drives them in a different manner. Maybe Ford is a different type of driver of a program. What?
You know what?
I do not know what.
You do know
I am
what?
whatless.
The answer to all your whats is money.
Now, that's the thing. Funny you bring that up.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking, okay, we've got the track record, right? It's undisputed. You cannot argue with anything I just said. Going forward, what could be the only thing in my mind that would, or the most logical thing, there could be other things, but the most logical thing that would derail them from being the status that they've been for 2 decades? And it is money.
It's the first thing out of everybody's mouth.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody can believe where it's gone in 5 years. It's turned everything upside down. On the teams that took themselves off this list and out of that consideration, breaking through, Vanderbilt, Texas Tech, Indiana, all getting their first invitations. Now, they weren't very far up the list because they didn't have the 23, so they can be in the top 12
Well,
like
they
these
wouldn't
other
have
teams.
been ranked
Right, yeah.
as much.
Right. So, it would be interesting. Tech maybe, but I mean, like Vanderbilt was probably ranked like 6 times before they got it.
Texas Tech, you're talking, they weren't ranked. They were never ranked.
They've never been ranked?
In the playoff
In the college
thing?
football playoff thing?
Maybe back in the OOs.
Yeah, so I just wondered if there was one in there somewhere. I mean, like if they were 6
but
and
they
1
would
at
never
some
come
point.
close to that list.
They would not come close to 23 or 24.
No.
I know. Right. In Indiana
They had 5 losing seasons from 16 to 21, and they only won 8 games twice since Leach left in like 08, 09.
Yeah. Vandy's getting their first rankings, and they obviously don't have an invite yet.
Texas Tech, and it's harsh to say for Texas Tech fans like it is for Oregon fans, they get all sensitive, you were bought and paid for. Great. But that's the reality. You were bought and paid for. David Bailey is going to be a top pick here in a couple of months in the NFL draft, and he came for 1 season because
Oregon is just basically a hooker.
You gave them the most money. You gave
There it
him
is.
the most money, and good for him.
Not knowing
Good
how
for them.
not knowing how the rules and money are going to change going forward. It's been such a wild card the last few years. It's turned around Vanderbilt, Indiana, Texas Tech, Ole Miss in ways we could have never guessed. So who knows what is to come. Whatever your school is, if somebody hits it big in whatever business and decides, I want to plow money into this team, and maybe we've already started to see it with Kansas. Maybe we know that $300 million gift endowment thing, and Kansas has been terrible forever, and then occasionally decent, and then back to terrible. who's to say? In 5 years, we look back and more people have plowed money into Kansas football. And we're like, how did that happen? After it happened at Indiana and Vanderbilt, I feel like it can happen anywhere.
Well, it's going to happen annually because that's the thing. As the Michigan coach said, what's his name? It goes up 10 to 15% per year. That's a substantial increase.
Substantial.
On a yearly basis.
For people who are saying this isn't sustainable, a 10 to 15% increase, hard to keep up.
Nothing is sustainable. I mean, we think financially, real estate, how in the world can it keep going up? I don't know, but it keeps going up.
Yep.
Player salaries, how in the world can it keep going up? I don't know, but it's keep going up. And we're going to have, in time, some dude is going to be making $100 million a year to play a sport. It's a joke, but that's where we're going.
Happen.
Yeah. I mean, they're making $50, $60 million for one freaking season.
The race is on between baseball and basketball.
Yeah. It's outrageous. So we'll say it can't keep happening, but it does. And it's getting more preposterous. Mark Harlan took a lot of heat because Mark Harlan has turned into a lightning rod for some reason. And some of it he put on himself. I get it. He got emotional, and he went out on the field, and then he spoke in the postgame. We know that, and it was unheard of. We've never seen anything like that. At least I haven't. And so, well, at least I know the guy cares. And so it was unfortunate, but blah, blah, blah. Chris Hill is recorded screaming at the
Bobby.
Yeah.
The head of the referees.
Yeah.
And it came through a concrete wall underneath the Huntsman Center, and you could hear it in the postgame.
If it would have been Mark Harlan, my gosh, we would have had people walking out of schools protesting. And so he's become a lightning rod. And then he takes the thing on the Moa kid, and he mentions it, and now, it's unbelievable. I get it. And he shouldn't have done it. Okay, fine. And he deletes it, whatever. But the fact is, the point I'm making is, we hadn't seen a kid, an incoming freshman, go to school for a week and then get out. That's unusual. Well, then what do we have? 2 weeks later, the Duke quarterback, we're going to sue you to keep the contract. Then, okay, he gets out of it, and then he's going to go to Miami. After not putting his name in, saying he was going to come back, blah, 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 blah. Last year, Tonavasa, oh my gosh, people rolled over in their graves. He decided.
It's out of control, and they all do it. You know that, Bobby.
He knows it.
You're supposed to be good official.
Hello.
I mean, we're dealing in sports and emotions. And when was the last time emotions got the best of them?
I don't recognize that
in
voice.
sports? Last night. Blue Dort. Yegor.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It happens all the time.
All the time. And quite frankly, we love it. And then later on, we wring our hands and our paw. How could that happen?
Yeah. We're not talking about people walking down the street.
Yeah.
We're talking about a competitive environment here. So emotions overflow. It's not that unusual when you think about it. And should it have happened? No. But does it happen all the time? Yes.
Yes. Travis Kelce apparently loves Andy Reid, and Andy Reid loves Travis Kelce.
And he loves Taylor Swift.
Yeah, the two. And all of a sudden, Travis Kelce is standing there in the biggest game, just screaming his head off at Andy.
Right. A Hall of Fame coach.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so these things happen that we don't expect happening, and they continue to happen. A kid enrolls in school and then drops out and goes to Michigan. A kid says he's going to come, signs a contract, blah, blah, blah. We had the same thing. Who was it with somebody else had the contract? Oh, the Washington coach, our quarterback.
Damon Williams,
Yeah.
you have the Clemson linebacker.
Right.
Yeah, you have
so
all these.
things that we don't anticipate happening are happening. And when is it ever going to end? I don't know that it's ever going to end. And the only thing that I can see, or the most logical thing that gets in Utah's way, is if they can't compete financially as the stakes continue to be raised. Other than that, I don't expect a big drop-off, if at all, by the new regime.
You do a good job with these questions of putting two things in that are true and then asking which one is it. It is frustration. I mean, there is frustration over missing the playoffs and not.
Sure, but it's a
not
good
getting in.
frustration. It's coming from a point of strength, not weakness.
I get your point. Do you think, given the SEC the last 3 years, all the predictions about, hey, the SEC has been paying players, this era isn't going to go as well for them, given their head-to-head record, like they've lost a head-to-head series with the ACC now 2 times out of 3. Mm-hmm. They've been getting dominated by the Big Ten. Mm-hmm. They don't have a lot of interaction with the Big 12, but even that is pretty even. Mm-hmm. And you can argue it's too small a sample size to read anything, and I get that.
Well, we're projecting going forward.
Right. So I'm just wondering if they're going to get 5 berths going forward. I think no. I do think
5 out of 12?
I know, right? They're not going to get that.
No.
So is it going to open the door for a second or third Big 12 team to get in? Or is that berth going to go to the Big 10 because now the Big 10 is going to be viewed that way?
If it's earned. If it's earned, they'll have the advantage. They say, I'm not a political guy, but they say that the incumbent, it's like a boxing match. Mm. The reigning
champ. You got to knock the champ out to be the champ.
Right.
Yeah.
And so those situations, particularly the Big Ten now, will have a built-in advantage, but it's not an non-overcomable or unovercomable situation.
Because of what we've seen, it's hard for me to believe, and there's no obvious cracks, it's hard to me to believe that Ohio State, Indiana, Oregon are going to miss the playoff. Now, watching those Big Ten schedules come out yesterday, I did think Ohio State's schedule legitimately looks hard. That looks hard. I know.
All we needed to do for BYU was to schedule Oklahoma State instead of Texas Tech.
It would have been a different deal. They'd have been 12-0.
Yeah.
And this year, BYU and Utah don't play Texas Tech in the 12.
Well, yeah, that's an advantage for Texas Tech.
Because now they ought to be flying.
Right.
No, Tech's schedule is...
Yeah. That's why they made the big deal. Somebody, when they released the thing the day before, the big game is
Arizona State, Texas Tech.
No, October or November, whenever it is. I don't even remember what it was.
I think it was October 7th.
Yeah, okay, yeah. But they're like one game?
And that's going to be the argument. It's going to be the old argument we heard against G5 teams like Boise State in their glory days, and they're still pretty good. But when they were really rolling, they'd have a big game in September, and then it would be like, oh, they just have one big game. Now, sometimes it worked for them, sometimes it didn't.
We'll see. Maybe
it's about to work for Utah.
Things
BYU.
happen, and it is football. The ball bounces weird. So,
and I just don't think
like everyone's playing for a second berth.
And at some point, the SEC and Big Ten will hash this out, and we'll end up at 16 or 24 or whatever it's going to be. So there'll be more berths, and it'll be easier to make.
Oh, yeah.
It's not going to stay at 12.
Eventually they're going to make it.
Yeah.
Because it's going to get expanded. 24 seems a little outrageous to me. I would go incrementally. I think that when you have something that's restrictive and then you go crazy on it, it's like the rules that were so restrictive for the players. You realize there was a time that kids, if they wanted to transfer in the conference, had to sit out a year and lose a year.
And now you don't even have to hit the 2-week window. You just have to pick up and go and let the lawyers settle on a number.
Everything has changed. They had no freedom. Now they got all the freedom in the world. We went too far. And that's what I view from 12 to 24 by doubling it seems a little silly. Why not go to 16 and then see what you got there? And then if you feel a need to improve it or expand it, okay. So, but BYU and Utah in the next 10 years, say, I would be shocked if we were sitting here, and I obviously won't be sitting here then, but in 2036, if there's 0 playoff appearances between the two.
That would be surprising.
I could even see Utah State getting in.
It'd be interesting to go because I think one of the things of the 24-team playoff, if it comes, is that the argument the Big Ten is making there is that let's make it like the NFL. Let's give every league 3 or 4 berths, and there's even more chance to play your win. They want to minimize the committee, so the committee's deciding a quarter of the field or less, instead of letting the committee decide 3/4 of the field.
No committee. Conference commissioners. Conference coaches.
Let them hash it out.
Yeah.
Conference coaches is Back to the Future. When I was a little kid, just starting to follow it, Michigan and Ohio State I think they were undefeated going into the last game, and they tied, and the conference coaches voted on who went to the Rose Bowl.
And I'm
Back
telling
to the
you
future.
This, Eric Kerr is so good, I can see Weber getting in. That's how good he is.
That'd be something.
You watch.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.